your main jobs as CEO is to go out and find people to help you run your company. And if you think you're going to be everything to everybody, that's the recipe for disaster.
Welcome back to another episode of the Yes and podcast. Today, we're going to be getting into all things wealth, asset building, money, real estate, and we also are licensed to not talk about any of that if that's not where it takes us, because I have a guest with me today. Joe, welcome to the Yes and podcast.
Thank you for having me on, Bunny. I appreciate it.
Yes.
I'm excited for this one.
I'm excited too, because we don't really know always where it's going to go because we keep it pretty conversational. But when I was looking over your page, you have quite an impressive portfolio. Granted, I know it's LinkedIn, and so you're putting all the things out about that. But why don't you start by sharing with our audience what you're most proud of building in your life thus far?
That's an easy one. It's our team. Our team that I have at Commercial Brokers International is, our other businesses are just, they've been hard to find. They've been hard to find, and I do everything I can to keep them happy and keep them working. Commercial Brokers International is the whole company culture is about being supportive, because in commercial real estate, as you know, Bunny, it's a tough business. And
A
so if
little
you
bit.
don't have that support, not just with the leadership, but everybody else within the company, the other agents, because when you're a newer agent, for example, and you're starting off, it's very hard. And every agent that's experienced and been with us for a while was there at one point. So we just say, listen, I want you to remember those first few days or first year or two, and think how you wanted to be treated. And next thing I know, I walk out and hear a bunch of the seniors are sitting in the back talking to the new agents, going, oh, let's try this is going to help you a lot more. So but I'm definitely proud of the team that we're building. We still have more space available, but it's hard to find people that really enhance the offering that we have with the type of personalities. I'm in the office every day, Bunny, so I want to be around people I want to be around. If
Yeah.
you come in and you're just making drama in my day for me, I just don't really need that. Because you're not just making drama for me, you're making drama for the office and everybody else. I want a positive work environment, but I'm also going to give you 100% support so you can go out and make money and give you all the tools. So team is the answer for me.
I love that, because one of the things that as an entrepreneur that I love doing is building a company, not a job. And I think
Yeah.
this is something that a lot of people confuse with and say that they're a CEO, when in actuality, I think the CEO's job, at least in my biased opinion, is to surround themselves with people that are smarter than them. And I
Hmm.
love, as a CEO, my grandfather used to say this thing: a CEO should be the dumbest person in the room. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why? Like, that doesn't make sense. But at
Hmm.
the same time, now that I've built several companies, I get it. And
Uh-huh.
so that really resonates with me. Any thoughts on that?
No, that's exactly right. The CEO needs to surround. I mean, that is one of your main jobs as CEO, is to go out and find people to help you run your company. And if you think you're going to be everything to everybody, that's the recipe for disaster. You've got to surround yourself with people that know what you're working on. Let's say it's marketing. You're not going to know everything there is to know about marketing if you're the CEO, and you're not going to have time to see the changes that are happening, especially now with AI. And so you've got to find somebody that can be there focused on just that, and they're a lot better at it than you are. And same with accounting. It's every aspect of your company. You want to be able to understand it, but you want to hire people that are better at it than you.
I love that. Okay. I think we have a mutual connection, at least on LinkedIn. We do. Do you know Polly White and Doug White?
I don't.
Okay. So it's just
I
the
don't.
LinkedIn land.
Yeah, y- the LinkedIn, I just kind of accept and go,
Yeah,
and so I don't even know how many people are following me on there, to be honest with you. But
I
what a
am.
powerful tool. I mean, it is. I try and use it the way it's supposed to be used. I mean, I'm sure you're getting a lot of spams on there right now. I just was complaining about that the other day, but what a powerful tool for any industry.
We
But
wouldn't
yeah,
be
I
here
don't
today
know
if it
about.
wasn't for that.
What's that?
I said you
Oh
and I
yeah,
wouldn't be here today. I mean, that's where
yeah.
we
So you saw
connected.
it, and that's one thing. And I had a guy on my YouTube channel, and he went through Martin. he went through filling out your profile on LinkedIn is so key. Making sure it's completely filled out so everybody knows everything that you do, where you do it, what city you're in, you know, be
Yeah.
very thorough with it.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we link that in the show notes because I think that that is an invaluable skill. I personally think that LinkedIn is so underused in the
Mhm.
entrepreneurial world. And you're right about all of the spam that's hitting the inboxes. And I also feel like in the professional world, it's easy for me to click on those messages and see that person's profile and see
Yeah.
kind of the caliber of professional they are versus they are not, which is sometimes difficult on other social profiles.
Yeah. Yep, no, I think it's key because people are out there looking for somebody to do business in an area, and let's say you're a broker in Los Angeles that specializes in industrial, and you just have commercial real estate broker. Not that I specializes in industrial, or obviously you want to have some of the transactions you've done on there, but yeah, being thorough on actually not just on LinkedIn, on all your social media, on all profiles, make sure it's
Yeah.
filled out completely.
Well, okay, speaking of what I found on your LinkedIn,
Oh,
it was a piece on a 410-acre property in Malibu. Now,
yeah,
why is this relevant in my life right now? Because we just went and looked at a bunch of Malibu properties and we're going to pull the trigger on one of the Malibu properties, except the fire insurance came back at 100K
yeah,
per year.
yeah. Yeah, that's a
So,
problem with Malibu. So you gotta get a beach house. Now, are you gonna get a are you going to get a, for horses? Horse property?
no, we were actually just looking at a property that was either on the beach or in
Okay.
proximity, like walking proximity
Alright.
to the beach.
Yep.
We ended up with some land, not in Malibu, and we do have the horses right behind us.
Right.
But this was something that when I saw on your profile, the 410 acres in Malibu, what do you think my first thought was? Is like, where is there 410 acres in
Right.
Malibu other than in the
Yeah.
canyon? So
Yeah.
share a little bit about, like.
This is a pretty funny story.
Yeah, go for it.
So the owner of the property was John Paul DeJoria. He's the guy that started Paul Mitchell Hair Care Products, Patron Tequila. He started that with Martin Crowley and several other companies. It was a client for many years. And we got him out of all of his commercial real estate. But he came to me one time. He goes, "Listen, I got 410 acres and in Malibu." And he goes, "I wanted to put a golf course on there." And I'm like, I looked at him, I said, "You want to put a golf course right now?" And it's right on the ocean. So it's Latuna Canyon and it goes over several hundred yards or about, half a mile, I guess. And you have the coastal commission, you've got the city of Malibu, and you think you're going to shave off the top of those mountains, put on a golf course? He goes, "Well, it was one of those things where it kind of seemed like a good idea at the time because I was with five other buddies and we just decided this is what we were going to do when we were in Las Vegas and we bought the land." And so he goes, "But now I need out of it. I can't do anything with it." So we go out and we walk the property. There's a couple of outbuildings in the back, but that's really about it. There's no other structures. There's ancient landslides all over this property. So building anything on it is going to be almost impossible anyway. And and I said, "Well, I don't even know how to price this because there's nothing of this size has been on the market in Malibu before." And he goes, "Well, just do your best." And he told me what he was into it for, and which in the end was almost nothing. These people, whoever had it before, just kind of wanted out of it. And we ended up putting it on the
Seems like
market
that's
for
a
50
theme.
what's oh, yeah. So for $15 million, we put on the market, and we let it set, and, we really kind of figured out what to do, and I came up with the idea one time about donating the property. And, maybe because there was a Mountains Restoration Trust was buying a bunch of property up around Malibu at the time, and this would have linked some of their properties. And I was kind of waiting for them to acquire a couple more properties, and they got it done, so now they're our neighbor. And so I approached them and I said, "Listen, we've got 15 million on this property." And I said, "How would you feel about him donating the property to you? And what does your offer look like?" So they came back and they gave us, I don't know, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was like 3 or 5 million dollars cash. And then the rest of the deal in tax write-offs for over a 5-year period, I believe. He was ecstatic. So we got rid of that property, and I mean, there was homeless people. You got to understand, there was homeless people living on this property that were out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you had to walk a drain tile to get up there because everything else was so steep, and just the shale, it would just crumble under your feet. So you take 2 steps up and slide back, 1 step, and it was just a process to get up there. So there was fire hazards, there was insurance problems, there was just one thing after another. Would start fires up there to stay warm, and then it would go down to PCH, and rocks would go tumbling down because the homeless people are up there walking around, and they go out onto PCH and hit cars, and it was a mess. So he was so happy to get out of that deal. Yeah,
It's
it was a process. He was so thankful, and so he became a longtime client then.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean,
Mm,
you did great branding and great sales on that thumbnail that you put up there because I was like 410 acres in
yeah,
Malibu. Like,
yeah,
where is this?
yeah,
So,
yeah. It was just property that wasn't usable. Mountains Restoration ended up selling that They were going broke. And so they end up selling that property that thought they were going to put a house on the backside of it. And I'm like, if you would have just called me before you bought that property, there's nothing you can do with it. It's just really, there's a couple of sheds that the state has on there for utilities, but that's
yeah.
about it. And
Who
there's
bought
some
it?
cool stuff. There's where from 40s they had concrete where gun turrets were set up there facing out to the bay.
That's insane. Like,
Hmm.
what a
Yeah,
historic piece of land.
yeah,
So, who
yeah.
has it now? Do we
I
know?
have no idea. I didn't even think I should go look at it at some point and see who has it now. But yeah. Yeah, and he wanted a sign up that said donated by, himself, and it was supposed to stay there as a permanent sign. I think that made it a week and somebody tore it down.
Oh my
Homeless
gosh.
people, they wanted the wood. So yeah. Yeah, it was quite a
Well,
deal. It
yeah.
was fun. He was fun to work with. He had a lot of real estate, so we worked with him for quite a few years.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk a little bit more about real estate. It's probably one of your favorite and least favorite topics to talk about because
How
you're
do I know,
talking about it
really?
all the time.
Yeah,
Um, in the millennial entrepreneur community, there's this huge movement to rent, not own.
yeah,
And I would say it's about 80-20.
yeah,
And offline, you and I had talked that I'm old school, pretty old in the entrepreneur community as well, where when I was looking at a property to come back to California, initially I was looking at renting. And it makes sense to me on paper where you're going to rent something for less money. You're going to put the money that you would put in a house into another investment that's going to be higher yield. And the more I looked at it and the more I crunched the numbers, though, Joe, I was like, I cannot wrap my head around setting $11,000 on fire every single month in a rental and not
sure.
having that asset to own and not feeling like I have the freedom to do what I want with that asset because I'm renting. Not to mention we have 5 Great Danes, so there was like that hurdle to jump through, which one's a service dog in training. I'm kind of the minority in the aspect that my dogs are very well trained, and yet they're still giant Great Danes. And so it's like, I understand the argument in being able to have the freedom to move when you want and not have the headache of home ownership and not have the taxes and all of that. And I just still felt like at the end of the day, I'd rather own an asset than just set piles of cash on fire.
Yeah. I, I'm of I'm of the same mindset, but it also depends on where you're at. Here in California, when I bought my house, it's gone up considerably. But I'm from Nebraska. If you buy a house in Nebraska, where I'm from, that house is the value just doesn't. You get the tax write-offs from the mortgage, and that's about it. But it's really, I always put it when people ask me, I said, "What's your personal preference?" I mean, that's really what you want. And do you have the knowledge base to take the extra money? Let's say you don't, if you're going to be renting and you're going to invest this other money, what are you going to invest it in? Do you have the knowledge base to do that? Because a lot of people think that's a smart move, and they say, well, what are you going to put it in? And a lot of people, well, I'm going to put it in crypto. I'm going to put it in. And I said, well, or higher risk in the stock market. I said, well, do you understand how the stock market works? And so really kind of break it down with them. And, more often than not, they have the idea of what they're going to do, but they haven't really done a lot of due diligence. You really want to study if you're not going to buy a property and you've got that extra cash, know exactly what you're going to do. it's like investing. We get countless people that call our office and say, "Hey, I want to open a store, and or I want to start a restaurant, and I want to start seeing spaces." We're like, "Okay, let's slow your roll here a little bit. Where are you at? Do you have experience? Do you have
Hmm.
money? Do you have a business plan?" No, no, no. Okay, okay. So you don't need to be looking at places right now. You need to educate yourself on the business. And so somebody that's saying about buying or investing, you need to really educate yourself on and sit down and do the analysis. What is your end game? If it's going to be retirement or if you're going to be in a place for 5 years, what's going to work best for you? Really doing an analysis on if I have 100,000 that I can put in the stock market and get a return back that I'm really happy with, is it going to be higher than what I would have got in appreciation? Again, it depends. You got to remember, real estate is a very local market. So if I have an apartment building in West LA on one side of the street, and I've got another one that's 3 blocks away, that can be
Hmm.
completely different values on those properties. And so that's why real estate, you've guys always got to remember, you got to look at, where you're going to be, what's the historical data in that marketplace, and also, if you're going to take that money invest, are you going to be able to invest it and get a better return?
Yeah. I think that's a really great way to look at it. And we did, run the numbers and it looked like if we were going to rent something for a minimum of 3 years,
Yeah,
buying would have been a better option.
yeah,
And that's where I'm grateful that not only do I have a great support team, but I also have that knowledge to be able to run that through a spreadsheet.
yeah,
And that's where a professional like you can help and ask those questions and say, like, do
yeah.
you have a business plan? Do you and a restaurant? Whew, not for the
Oh,
faint
you
of heart.
can't believe. I mean, I'm all about the entrepreneurial spirit. I've built companies. I've probably made more mistakes than I'd care to admit. But, you know, a lot of that was unforeseen because I always sit down and really put a plan out how I'm going to execute on this. And so if you don't have that, being an entrepreneur can be a very painful process. So having that plan of how you're going to move forward is always key.
So let's talk about the 18 months to 5 million.
Oh yeah. It depends on the company too. First one I was 20 something. And my current business partner, George, he was with a company with me here in Los Angeles. Company went public, got caught doing, did an IPO, got caught fudging the numbers in the IPO. So, of course, they started doing a bunch of layoffs. And so I got moved. I was in the marketing department. I got moved into the closing department. George was the head of that closing department because all of his bosses had been laid off. And I got laid off by George shortly after that. And so I went to another company and I was strictly commission and I had almost no money. So I knew I had to do something very, very quickly because I had just a couple $1,000s in the account. Lo and behold, George got laid off a month later. And so I really got to know him. The day that he laid me off, I just sat and talked to him. Like, okay, he seems like a nice guy, really understands analytics and all that. And I understood marketing. And so when he got laid off, he called me, goes, "Hey, what's it like over there?" I said, "Well, it's only commission." And he was getting married at the time. So lots of pressure. She had 2 kids from a previous marriage. And I said, "So this is what I'm doing. And if you want to come over here and do this with me, we can do everything 50-50, and we're going to have to go fast. We're going to have to build fast." And so he came over and I mean, there's a lot of pressure. I mean, we were in our 20s, so we just lived in the office. We were, I don't know how long it was 7 days a week, and we were doing real estate auctions. Well, we just started cold calling foreclosed properties to all the banks back east in the morning, and we work all the way across the United States. We end up in Hawaii and calling them, and then we'd have to stop around 3 or 4 o'clock, fold those letters because there was no internet at the time, fold those letters that we'd written out and we'd type them out. We had a printer, but at least we could do that. And we would send them. And then we'd do a follow up call the next week. And so that's how we started. I mean, no internet. We had a little, which actually now would probably be that little Apple computer that was about that wide and about that tall.
Yeah.
It's probably worth a lot right now, but it was one of the originals. And that's what we were running that entire company off of. But we were calling a lot of big institutions and we were just cold calling fiends all day, every day. And then we landed our first deal and we just did it different than everybody else. brought a very entrepreneurial approach to doing auctions. Everybody else was institutional, and we landed what's no longer around, Great Western Bank. We landed them, and then we just reached out to everybody and said, "Hey, we're doing 60 homes for these people at this bank, and so let's just include you in next month's auction." And it got down. I had like $1,200 in the bank. I think George had pretty close to the same. So we were at the end of it, and what a stressful and terrible. I mean, it was an exciting time, but it was terrible. But yeah, we blew past 5 million, and our first auction was 60 homes, and then we landed Freddie Mac shortly after that, and we did 700 properties a year after that. So for like 5 years solid.
So if you had to do the 5 mil in 18 months, what would you do now?
That's an easy one. I would stick with commercial real estate. I would get started. I'd find a company that, again, depends on my education process. I'm going to say I've got, a year experience or something like that. So I know the ins and outs. I understand the contracts. I would still work with somebody that could teach me more. I'd want to be part of a team or have a mentor that I was working with. I would just pick a market. I would look at the asset class I want to be in, and I'd really look at number of transactions, deal volume, price points. If it's selling for $1 a foot and, 4 blocks away, it's $2 a foot. I'm doubling my money, so I want to go over there. Find your market, find everything that works well for you. Make sure there's plenty of business to be had, but not too much business because that's probably a saturated market. And I would use social media marketing. I would use emails. I would get involved in everything in the city. I'd be part of the Chamber of Commerce. You would know me by month number 3. I mean, I would walk and talk to everybody in my marketplace. I mean, if it's retail, we do what's called a block program anyway. We just walk in and start talking to the retail managers or the owners of the stores, introduce ourselves. You do 3 blocks each side of the street every 3 weeks. Month number 2, when you're walking in the store, they're going, "Hey, Joe, how are you?" People do business with people they know and
Mm-hmm.
trust.
Mm-hmm.
You got to build that relationship. So you got to build that relationship quick. But I'd be writing blogs. I'd be all over social media. I'd be creating content. TikTok is now allowing static pictures as well as 10-minute and 30-minute videos. I'd be on there. YouTube, everywhere. It sounds like a lot, but it's not that much. I just had one of my agents, she went for a run last night, and she's had 2 listings in West Hollywood, and the guy that wrote the article about her was walking by, and he stopped. He goes, "Retail girl?" And she goes, that's her handle on Instagram. She goes, "Yes." And he introduced himself. "I just wrote an article about you." And so she was all ecstatic that somebody from
There
the
you go.
newspaper recognized her, and he wants to come in and write an article about her because she's a woman in real estate that's tearing it up. And so that's power. And so, but I got to have I wish you should have listened to me sooner moment, because I had to fight her on starting to do it earlier. And
Mm-hmm.
now that she's doing and knock it out of the park, she's getting this recognition that she's so well deserves. That's working well for her. I mean, that's the thing with real estate. It's there, especially if you're younger. A lot of the older people are just doing cold calling and, they're networking. And what's coming with AI, it's going to be phenomenal. Get in and educate yourself. Find a firm that's willing to teach you and mentor you. We do classes every morning at 8:30 in the morning for we have 3 new people starting. And one of them came from another company because I've never seen training like this. And, we're serious about it. So find a firm that is really interested in training you and supporting you.
Joe
You'll
just
make
gave you
money.
your $5 million business plan, so I hope you took notes.
That's it. That's really it. And that's really pretty much everything we do. That's what it is. It's like you got to get in but it's a lot, but it's not that much. When you get to where you're doing it, you create your daily structure. You'll be surprised once you get in there. It doesn't take very long.
How do you keep yourself from not burning out?
Yeah, well, if you're gonna be posting content, just document your day when you're out and about. I'm West Hollywood doing a showing, Beverly Hills doing a showing. Documenting your day can be, people are seeing you out there working.
Have you ever struggled with that? Have you ever struggled with burnout?
I
Difficult
don't think
question. I
burnout.
gave you
That
some
is a
easy
very good
ones.
question. I'm really thinking back. I don't think it's burnout because I've always loved this business. And I've always loved being an entrepreneur. So we've had other companies too. We've had a tech company that we built up and sold, but a property management firm we built up and sold right before the pandemic because we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know, we're going to have to close our commercial brokerage company down, or so we need to focus on that because that was something we really did. So we ended up selling the property management company for pennies on the dollar, but they kept all the employees.
Yeah.
I would like to have that one back, but never really burnout. I get into my head sometimes. I've always had I deal with depression a little bit here now and again. It's been in our family, but I always think that's more of what it is. But burnout, no, I don't.
Yeah.
It's too fun. It's too fun to hear the stories for, the agents, the team out there when they're having success to sit here and listen to somebody so excited about something that just happened. I love that.
Well,
I love to
I
see
mean,
their
that's
success.
as long as you're doing something that fulfills you, which brings me into, I think what's going to be my final question that I prepped you a little bit for this of a lot of entrepreneurs focus on the numbers and they focus on the commas and they focus
Yep.
on building the wealth, meaning money. What is your definition of wealth and what do you say to entrepreneurs mainly and even your team that's just focused on the money?
Money is the result of doing something you love. And I can go back to John Paul DeJoria, for example. There's a guy that has more money than God than he can spend right now, right? I don't even know what he's worth anymore. But his thing is, and very similar to mine, is I have the ability to go do what I want to do. It's freedom. It's freedom to do what I want to do. And, you know, it was probably one things with him, one story about him is we were in a restaurant and it was a very expensive restaurant. There was a table of 12. He forgot his wallet and we're all panicking going, holy shit, somebody's gonna pick up the bill. I thought he did, but he just called the restaurant owner over. He goes, listen, I'll be back in 10 minutes. I'm like, yeah, it was like that'd have been thousands. But, it's just if you're focused on money, you're gonna lose in the long run. You have it's just the result of for me, it's the result of doing what I love and making sure that everything is working the way it needs to work. That's how and a lot of CEO or a lot of entrepreneurs are the same way. They're not doing this to get wealthy. They're doing it because it's what they love to do.
For me, building my companies was wealth to me is being able to wake up in the morning where I want to wake up and
Hmm.
have a schedule of things that I want to do and the freedom to choose both of those
Yeah.
and to choose where I'm investing my time, my energy, and my money. And I think that that's wealth for me. And that's a
Yeah.
huge privilege. And to me, that's also the responsibility of what am I going to do with my wealth versus just build
Yeah.
more of it.
Yeah, and another thing too I want is that makes probably back to team is I get to go in the office every day with people I've chosen to work with and want to
Hmm.
be around. And, we'll laugh, we'll fight, but we move on the next day, and it's just a great environment that I'm very thankful to be part of. And so, I'm glad that our new agents chose us to come and learn how to be a commercial real estate agent and grow their business. And so, and that's a lot of being thankful for what you've got. Most of us really take that for granted.
Yeah. It's such a great place to kind of begin to wrap up. And I love to ask guests what their definition of a yes and lifestyle is. Obviously, this is the Yes and podcast. And so I hope you had a little bit of time to kind of think about what that means to you. Well, like my definition of the yes and lifestyle is being able to, like we just talked about, being able to be a really successful business owner and
Hmm.
CEO and have a ton of time for my family and being a
Right.
great mom and not having to choose one or the other, but being able to have that life where it's yes and yes, I'm a business owner and I'm still a fantastic mom and a present
Right.
wife.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a tough one to be.
I
Man.
I had some time to think about this being that it is my
Yeah.
brand.
I can tell you too. I got two. So this channel or this website, it goes to my YouTube channel. When I started going to college, I wanted to be a teacher, and I ended up in real estate. And so this allows me to what I'm doing allows me to
Mhm.
put the YouTube channel is education channel. And I can't believe how much I've learned. I've been in this business so many years, and I learn so much every time I do one. I go, really? Never thought of that. We had a nonprofit years ago. We actually still have a nonprofit. It's just on hold. We put it on hold during the pandemic, and it's on mentoring. We got to rework the whole thing because in-person mentoring is completely taken a whole new dynamic. But we had a company that allowed low-income children free mentoring. And one of those students walked into my office last week and I about fell over. She was 12 years old when I met her. She's 34 now. And what a successful life she's had. You ever see the movie Training Day?
Mm-mm.
That's Baldwin Village. It's a it was one of the toughest communities where she was growing up, and we were running that program there. And she got off. Most of these kids don't think they're going to higher education. So we gave them through the foundation the opportunity to go to higher education. It could be any university, any local college. They want to become a mechanic. We helped. We gave them scholarships to get them started. And some of them that went to become a contractor, we ended up bought his tool belt, which I had no idea tool belts were that expensive. But um, we just kind of got them started. And that is, I sat here that night listening to her. I'm like, man, if that program wouldn't have been in place, and the teachers were the ones that really set these kids on the path, right? And we just created a facility for it to happen. But these teachers really put these kids on the right path, and it really worked out well for her. Well, several kids. She was just one that happened to walk in, but yeah.
I love that.
It makes you feel old because they walk in, they're 34 years old, and some of them have kids now. And I'm like, good God.
Yes. And that's why we do this, right? Is for
Yeah,
that legacy and
yeah.
to build something that survives us and
That
outlasts us. So,
that's yeah. If you were, if you are gone tomorrow, how long are they going to remember you? Is it going to be a week, a month, 6 years? If you can't afford to have your name on the side of a building, and you want to be remembered, you're gonna have to do something pretty spectacular.
yeah. Well, Joe, I think you're doing something pretty spectacular, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share it with us today on the podcast.
Well, thank you for taking the time to have me on. I appreciate it.
Yes. So we're going to make sure all of Joe's links are right below this episode. We truly hope that you had as much of a ball listening to this podcast as we did recording it wherever you were listening, whether it was on your walk, whether it was, trolling through Malibu on walking the beach, all of those kinds of things. Leave us a review of this episode, download this episode, share it with somebody that you want to inspire to start living or continue living their yes and lifestyle. And until the next time, I'm Bunny Young, and I will see you on the next episode of the Yes and Podcast.